At the end of the Jewish festival season, the president held open house at his residence in Jerusalem. Citizens from all over the country and from all communities came to pay their respects to the head of the state. Old and young, members of parliament and farm laborers, new immigrants and veteran settlers, Arab and Jew, factory workers and Bedouin. In the northern coastal city of Akka this month, an exhibition was held of the arts and crafts and way of life of the Druze, Circassian and Arab communities in Israel. A colourful corner was the collection of daggers with wrought silver handles and gem-studded sheaths, as well as firearms. These pipes are smoked through rose water and are a typical sight in the Middle East. Their beautifully fashioned coffee pots, called finjan, are the symbol of their traditional hospitality. The potter plies a craft which is thousands of years old in this country. A pioneer youth assembly was held this month at the exhibition devoted to the Kibbutz, the special cooperative farm village unique to Israel. It drew young men and women from all over the country who have chosen the path of pioneer farm settlement in the desert and along the borders. They present kibbutz life in amusing displays. The health committee in operation, receiving work assignments. A kibbutz member on guard duty against marauders from across the border. Prime Minister Ben-Gurion was among the many who came to visit this instructive, amusing and imaginative presentation of one of the most impressive forms of society that exist in the world today. Regional swimming champions from all over the country and some from overseas gathered for the annual race across the Sea of Galilee. The Belgian champion also took part. The competitors entered the water at the settlement of Negev on the eastern shore to swim the more than 10 kilometers across the lake to Tiberias on the western shore. First home in just under 2.5 hours was a young pioneer farmer, Uzi Rosen. Shoshana Ribner was winner in the women's division. In ancient days, the farmers of Israel nursed every inch of their beloved soil, conserving the hillsides by terracing, drawing forth rich yields of vines and fruits. With the expulsion of the Jews some 2,000 years ago, the land fell into decline. The hill slopes became barren, rock-strewn. Today, life is being brought back to the hills of Israel. The heavy rocks that seemed rooted to the soil are removed by bulldozer, first step in the task of reclaiming the slopes. Smaller stones are dragged away by mechanical scrapers, and what the machines can't do is done by the hand of the laborer. This reclamation work is a project of the Kinerret, the Jewish National Fund. The aim is to increase Israel's arable land by 1/5 in the next 10 years. Thousands of immigrants and veteran settlers are engaged in this creative effort of turning Israel's wastes into cultivable land. The rocks are removed, but they are not wasted. They are used to form the stone hedging of the new terraces, which is the next stage in hill reclamation. And into the cleared soil between the stone walls go the seeds and plants from which will grow the vines and fruit trees to develop the economy and provide a living for the new farmers of Israel. And with reclamation comes a revived beauty to Israel's countryside. Jerusalem, the capital of Israel, city of David, timeless, hallowed by history, center of learning. For years, the Jews of Jerusalem lived in quarters like this, Mea Sha'arim, with narrow cobbled alleyways where no traffic passed, replete with Talmudic seminaries. They earned their livelihood by plying ancient crafts, by fashioning religious articles, and by inscribing the Holy Torah on parchment in the tongue of the prophets, Hebrew. But since the birth of the state 10 years ago, the population has grown to more than 150,000. And Israel's capital is a modern city, vibrant with life. More than 100 new industrial concerns have been established in specially built modern industrial estates. Jerusalem is rapidly developing as an important center of Israel's light industry. This development is the primary task of an alert public body called the Jerusalem Economic Corporation, which has built the industrial estates and provided the modern amenities. Jerusalem industry today extends to plastics, textiles, footwear, stoves, refrigerators, glass, and pharmaceutical products. Most of Israel's electric bulbs are made in this Jerusalem factory. They also make fluorescent lamps. Jerusalem is also the major center in the country for the manufacture of pharmaceutical products, which are an important export item of Israel's trade. The highest hygienic standards must be maintained in the manufacture of antibiotics. And Jerusalem also shares in the manufacture of that 20th century product, plastics. Many immigrants who have settled in Jerusalem have brought their special skills in weaving and spinning to the 3 textile factories in the capital. The pencil is a slender industrial article, but it earns precious foreign currency in exports. All Israel pencils are made in this modern factory in Jerusalem. The most modern printing presses for the production of books, posters and newspapers in Hebrew, English and other languages are to be found in the capital. Tools and dies and precision instruments are turned out in Jerusalem's engineering shops. And to maintain the high-level industrial skills required to turn out top-level products, Jerusalem has a number of vocational training centers maintained by the Ministry of Labor, the Ministry of Communications, Hadassah, and Ort. The ancient city of Jerusalem is being given a modern face and growing in importance as a center of light industry in Israel. This is the Negev, Israel's southern desert, neglected for centuries, a wilderness where nothing has grown since the days of antiquity. Today, the desert is being thrust back, giving way to a new industrial crop, Sisal. 10 years of experimenting with this plant, which can grow in arid areas, have proved successful, and now 6,000 dunam of Negev land are under Sisal plantation, a project of the Jewish National Fund. Sisal is the raw material for sacking and rope, used in every port from the China Seas to the Mediterranean, and on every ship from the smallest sailing vessel to the most powerful ocean liner. Because of the great international demand, Sisal is a product of high commercial value. The life of a Sisal plant is 10 years. Just before it dies, it turns itself into a built-in tree nursery, putting out numerous shoots which are then planted, each forming a new Sisal plant and beginning its 10-year cycle. This is becoming the new landscape of the Negev. A further 14,000 dunams are being put under Sisal plantation, offering a livelihood to many thousands of newcomers to Negev settlement. In 2 years, the plant grows to a height of 5 feet. This is the ideal height for cutting. The thick, broad leaves are then brought to the factory for processing. In the early experimental days, they used this primitive method of extracting the precious fiber. But this month, Sisal made its debut on Israel's industrial stage with the opening of this modern plant in the Negev, set up by a Mexican industrialist who is also a Sisal expert, with the blessings of the government, the Jewish National Fund, and the Negev farm villages who helped in the early experiments. High-speed cutters snip the ends of the leaves, rip away the flesh, which is then thrust out by water under pressure, leaving the fiber threads. These are laid out to dry under the hot southern sun, the newest site in the Negev. After 4 hours of drying, the fiber is ready for the cordage factory. Here, the threads are mechanically twisted into sacking, cord, and rope to meet local demands and to reach the markets of the world as Israel's latest export product. Soon, made-in-Israel rope will be used on the capstans of distant ports and on ships plying the 7 seas, rope from the Sisal plant grown in the Negev.